I asked you to ask me questions in the community tab, and I got lots of questions, so I'm starting to answer them. As you can see, I'm out in the country. I made a video in this village around here last summer, and I'm actually going to put small clips of that video in this one, in those spots where I'm in the same place as I was in the summer, so you can see the difference. It's snowing slightly now, it's -8 centigrade, and for the rest of what I'm going to do outside, I'll have to wear more clothes. Half of the questions are in this video, the rest in the next video. Have you visited Lapland? Do many tourists go there? I haven't actually visited Lapland, but most Finns have, and many go there regularly, and many people also have cottages up there, so they have a place to go to. Do many tourists go there? Yes. Loads and loads of tourists all the time, especially at Christmas time. One of the places they go to is this Santa village on the Polar Circle, but there's so much else that they go for. People go skiing, both downhill and cross country, and snowshoeing, and hiking, and reindeer safaris, and what do you call it, when dogs pull sledges, those things, and Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. That's one of the main things also that people go for. Maybe I'll go there one day, but I normally go further south when I leave. I like warm weather and I like cities as well, so it's not really for me, but it's lovely for those who like that kind of things. Do you plan to do any Tunisian crochet videos in the future? Yeah, I very well might do that. I love Tunisian crochet, and as the person who asked this mentioned, I have a playlist of it, but all the videos are quite old. So I continue doing it myself at times, and what I especially like is when you do it in the round. I like, for instance, for mittens or socks or something. Like I have this here Tunisian crochet cushion that was in the Simply Crochet magazine. The pattern is in Etsy and Ravelry. And I just noticed here where I'm staying, that my daughter still has a pair of gloves that I made at least 10 years ago. Tunisian crochet is something that lasts very well because all the stitches are so tight. So as long as you are using good quality yarn, it's going to last very long. So doing more of that is something I could definitely consider. Where else can I see these amazing photos of yours? Thank you. I used to do more photography. So the photos you were referring to in the community post, they were taken by phone. I do have a proper camera as well, but I've been doing very much less of that. Where you can see more of what I film and what I do is in Instagram stories. That's something where I post, apart from crochet, I post quite a lot of things of my daily life, where I stay and where I travel and that kind of things. And I'm actually finally planning to launch a membership in YouTube. Many YouTubers do that when they have 50 subscribers, and I have about 230 now, and I haven't done it, but I'm planning to next year. So there I will post more personal things and more of the things that I photograph and that kind of things. When teaching a stitch pattern, could you explain it for different uses? For example, as a border, center out, rows, reversible, etc. Here by the sea it's colder, so I had to keep my hat and scarf on. But to the question, yes, that would definitely be a good idea. It would require thinking of how to do it, because it would cause a much longer video. You would have to probably do like a series or something. And I have also considered at times doing, separate paid courses and then having something like that there, sort of going much deeper than what can be done on YouTube videos. Because the problem with YouTube is that if you make a video that lots of people skip most of it, then YouTube doesn't continue showing it to people. So it is a very good idea, but how to do it, I'm not really sure. Also, it's a question of time. You would have to make then samples of everything possible, and it would take a lot of time. Yes, so it's good, but takes a lot of thinking of how to do it. Can you share a childhood holiday or winter tradition that you have also shared with your children? After reading that, I was trying to remember what there would be. And there would certainly be something like that, because I wanted the children to have a clearly Finnish background as well. Each one of my children has been born in a different country. one in Finland, one in Belgium, and the last one in Northern Ireland. One thing was obviously I always spoke to them in Finnish. They would answer in English or in the Belgian area at times in French, but that was one thing. And one thing was anyway that when we were living in Northern Ireland, we had some of the Finnish traditions there in a sense that we had Christmas twice, because in many European countries, of course, the 24th evening is the main thing. That's when you open presents and all that. But in Britain and Ireland, that's not the case. You get your presents, like in America, on the 25th morning. So we would have both. We would have the main Christmas meal on the 24th evening, and then open presents after that. And those would be presents from ourselves and from Finnish relatives. And then we had another thing on the Christmas day. So there are things like that. And then when we visited Finland, I wanted the children to learn to ski. As a child, I skied a lot. All children at that time went to school by skis in the countryside. I had meant to film a few questions here too, because I did last summer, but I was getting too cold. It was getting a bit cold out there, so I decided to come in here and continue by the fire. Somebody actually thought that this was her place and she wasn't at all happy, but she can get back after I'm finished. What is your favorite crochet stitch? Is there a crochet stitch you don't like to do in your projects? This is an easy question because I clearly have both. My favorite is V-stitch, the sort of a continuous V-stitch. I have several videos of that actually. And then the least favorite that I try to avoid is half double crochet, using US crochet terms. I just don't like the way your hands have to go when you do that stitch. So I never use it otherwise than if you have to build something like that. You first have a single crochet and then half double crochet, then double crochet and so on. Then, but not otherwise. As a crocheter, do you ever lose the motivation to crochet? If so, how do you motivate yourself to continue crocheting? I must say very rarely I would lose motivation. At the moment I can't remember when the last time would have been. But if that happens, what I then do, or if I sort of get a little bit tired of crocheting too much, then I switch on to knitting. So that depends if you do both. But then if you don't feel like doing either, I don't think, if it's not your work and if you don't have to do something, then I just wouldn't force myself. I would go for other kind of hobbies for a while. It's obviously a bigger problem if you do it for your work. But also in that case, taking a small break if you can. Like if you are selling lots of crochet things just before Christmas, then you can't. But I think it would help if you thought that I'm going to do this for another 2 months and then I can have a break. So it depends on your circumstances. Would you be able to include information and patterns regarding Amigurumi crochet? Unfortunately not. Amigurumi is one of those things that I don't do at all. But there's this other Finnish crochet designer, Veronica, and she does only amigurumi. So you can go and check out what she does. She has YouTube tutorials and she has both free and paid patterns and an amigurumi club. And she's even selling an amigurumi calendar for the next year. So see the link for those. Is Finland having less snow than usual this year? Certainly not. Not this year nor the last few years. It's been a bit hard for many people to adjust to the weather, the climate being different in the last 6-7 years. It's meant lots of extremes, much hotter summers than before and far more snow in the winter than before. I don't know, it seems like every month you hear on the news that this was the record month for this or that, for rain or snow or for heat or whatever. But we just have to adjust. For many years now here in the very south of Finland, we didn't have that much snow, maybe 6 weeks in a year, and now it can be easily 5 months year after year. So my reaction to that actually is to stay away for a while, 2 to 3 months in the beginning of the year. Do you own a sauna? And how often do you go to the sauna? Do you go in the snow after, in winter, or is it a myth? Okay, it seemed the best to come into a sauna to answer this question. By the way, sauna is a Finnish word. I know lots of people pronounce it sauna, but I pronounce it the way it's supposed to be pronounced in Finnish. Yeah, I'm in my daughter's sauna at the moment. This is another thing that I'm not a typical Finn in. I don't like saunas and I hardly ever go. I mean, there are years in between going, but the majority of Finns would go regularly. I mean, it varies a lot. Some people go every day, some go once a week, twice a week, whatever. But every house in Finland has their own sauna, either inside or separately outside. Especially in summer cottages, the sauna is often a separate building by the water. Like in these here photos, you see these little huts by the sea. These photos actually have been taken from the cruise boat that goes between Finland and Sweden every day. I would go on those quite often. To go back and forth to Sweden from my town takes 24 hours or 22 hours. So in Finland you would not build a house without a sauna. Even if a family doesn't use them much, you would not build one like that because you would never sell it again. In apartment blocks it varies. Either there is a sauna inside each apartment, or at least the larger ones, or there's a communal one where each apartment can book an hour a week or 2 hours a week, whatever, and pay a certain amount. About running into the snow after sauna is not a myth. People do that, although it's not something that you would do all the time, but I mean, it's one kind of thing that people would do. I have done it. I lived in a country and our sauna was in the basement, so sometimes we would run out. Far more common though than going into snow after sauna is going into icy water. There are also places that keep some water from freezing so that people can do it. Like this here one is from the village where I'm staying at the moment. This sauna is unusual in that it's a stone building. Most of them are wooden. This is a communal sauna and swim place in the village where anybody can go. And they say it's very healthy. I have never tried it, so maybe I will one day. Were you born in Finland? Where is the furthest you have traveled? Have you been to the United States? Yes, I was born in Finland and actually never went away from Finland for the first 18 years of my life. But since then I have traveled a lot. In the question about family traditions, I already mentioned that each of my children has been born in a different country. So I have traveled around Europe. A while ago I counted, there was somebody asking a question about that I have been to 18 European countries, but I haven't been further away. Like all of my daughters have spent extended times in Asia. I have never been there. So the question if I've been to the United States, no, I haven't. I love big cities, so I would especially like to go to New York one day. And I have lived altogether 15 years in France and Belgium and in Northern Ireland. The furthest I have traveled is to Gran Canaria. It's by Africa, but part of Spain. I have spent many months there and going soon again. I especially love the city of Las Palmas. What to do with boring color yarn? I have a few beige and brown wool. That's beautiful color, yet works up plain. What I normally do with that kind of colors is I mix them with others. So any kind of color works, stripes, whatever, so that the boring color is sort of a filler, that the other colors are the ones that are supposed to pop up. And that works in any kind of a project really, whether you are doing accessories or clothes or some home decor things. So that's really the only thing I can think of at the moment. Unless you had something where you need a lining, for instance. For instance, a baby blanket that needs to be double. So you would do the front with nice colors that you like, and then the underside, plain side, in this color that you don't like. Hope that gives some ideas. So here were about half of the questions that I have been given to answer, and the rest of the answers will be on the next video directly after this one, 3 or 4 days later. Thank you everybody who sent questions. It's so interesting answering them. So make sure you will see the next video as well.